Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So now we are going to proceed with Kingdom Animalia. So in this subtopic on Kingdom Animalia, you should know the characteristic of Kingdom Animalia, including phylum, Porifera, Cnidaria, Platyhelminthes, Nematoda, Annelida, Mollusca, Arthropoda, Echinodermata, and Chordata. But before I proceed, I would like you to remember that you have to really careful on the way of writing of the phylum. Make sure the first alphabet of the phylum should be capital. I repeat, the first alphabet of the phylum should be capital. Alright, so basically what you can see here, you may find this in the textbook. It shows you the possible phylogeny of Kingdom Animalia, whereby phylogeny shows evolutionary history by showing the relationship found by comparing the DNA, RNA, proteins of various organisms. So it actually shows the animal lineage that evolved, which belief evolved from the ancestral protists. Okay, so this part you actually had been taught in Biology 1, Chapter 1, Origin of Cells, where it is believed that animals or organisms arise from ancestral protists, okay, ataupun ancestral eukaryotic and prokaryotic organism. Okay, alright. So I will not going to touch on that. Okay, so what you can see from this picture, right? It shows you that organisms basically are classified based on their animals, basically classified based on their complexity. Starting from here, the least complex up to the most complex organism. Right? So what you can see from here, animals basically divided or compared or differentiate first based on tissue. Some animals do not have true tissue, and some animals have tissue. So those animals that do not have tissue, they are organisms in the phylum of Porifera, like here, the sponges. Okay, so I believe you know the SpongeBob. Basically, SpongeBob are sponges which came from this phylum Porifera. And those are the animals that have true tissue. They are classified and differentiated by another categories, which is by looking at the symmetrical, body symmetrical. Some animals having radial symmetry. Radial symmetry means it looks like pizza, where you can cut in many axes. Okay, for example, those animals in the phylum Cnidaria, for example, the jellyfish. As for other animals, right, some other animals have bilateral symmetry. Bilateral symmetry means you have only one imaginary line to cut the animal. For example, us, we are having bilateral symmetry. So those animals with bilateral symmetry, they are going to be subdivided again by looking at into their body cavities. Some animals do not have body cavities. So what is body cavity? I will explain a bit further after this. Alright, so animals that do not have body cavities are those came from the phylum of Platyhelminthes, or we call as the flatworm. And as for other animals that have body cavities, they are going to be explored by looking into their cavity, type of the cavity. Some having true cavity, we call as coelom. Okay, but some animals has false body cavity, we call as pseudocoelom or pseudocoel, as you can see from here. Those animals that have pseudocoelom or not true body cavity are those came from the phylum of Nematoda, or we call as the roundworm. And as for animals that have true body cavity, they are going to be differentiate by another characteristics. For example, the skeleton, okay, and also the segmentation. Okay, so as for that, you can see that animals basically emerge from the least complex to the most complex. Okay, from Nematoda, then towards Mollusca, Annelida, Arthropoda, Echinodermata, and last one is Chordata. So I would like you to make sure and really understand and memorize the hierarchy of complexity of animal kingdom, starting from the least complex, the Porifera, okay, next Cnidaria, then followed by Platyhelminthes, Nematoda, Mollusca, Annelida, Arthropoda, Echinodermata, and Chordata. Okay, now we go to the general features of animals. Okay, basically all animals are eukaryotes, okay, having multicellular multicellular organism, and since they are animals, so they are lacking of cell wall and they are able to reproduce sexually, right? And all animals basically are heterotrophic, meaning they cannot make food on their own, right? And some of animals are motile during some stages of their life cycle. Motile here means able to produce a motion, okay, motion. And next one, general features of animals is that animals must be able to respond toward stimulus. For example, except for sponges, because basically sponges are not able to even move, so they are not able to respond toward external stimulus. Okay, and animals also do have nervous system, okay, or nervous coordination. All right, so we are going to touch this a bit further. And another one is, okay, so animal also are being classified or characterized by its body plan. The first one is the body symmetry, like I mentioned just now. Second, tissue, right, where tissue will allow specialization and functions of the body. Number 3, the body cavity. Remember, I said just now, some having body cavity, some are having false body cavity, some are having true body cavity. So what are those things? We are going to explore this a bit later. And last one is body segmentation, or we call as repeated body unit. Okay, so I will start first with body symmetry, okay, where how animal being characterized ataupun categorized. Okay, body symmetry, like I said, some animal have absence of symmetry, meaning they are not even have definite shape, right? Example, sponges. Okay, so the sponge board that you see from the cartoon basically are not the real sponges. So the real sponges having this kind of shape. Okay, right, so please bear in mind. All right, so sponges having irregular body, right? Some animal shows radial symmetry. Radial symmetry is any imaginary line through the central axis that divide the animal into equal. For example, those in the phylum Cnidaria and also Echinodermata. Okay, so this is Cnidarian. Example here is the jellyfish, while this is example of an echinoderm from the phylum of Echinodermata, which is starfish. Okay, so this is a type of symmetry that I showed you just now. Okay, and then the third type of symmetry, all right, is bilateral symmetry. So bilateral symmetry means an animal that have only one imaginary line that divide the animal into mirror image. For example, those animals in the phylum of Arthropoda, as you can see from here. Okay, the spiders, the beetle, and whatnot. Okay, so a bilateral animal has two axes of orientation. Dorsal is the top side of the body, right? And then ventral, the bottom side of the body, right? Lateral side, lateral means the side, right side and the left side of the body. Anterior part, the front, okay, or head region, while posterior, or we call as the back region or rear region. Okay, so you can see from here, this is a dorsal side, top body parts. Ventral side, the lower body parts. Okay, anterior, the front region or the head region. Posterior, the back region. Okay, and then the lateral side. Okay, right lateral or left lateral.